a video.
Hello everyone. I want to just quickly start off by saying that we are all expressing a lot of gratitude to faculty specifically. Janine, Will, you guys have been super outstanding and just
I
you guys
gotcha.
have been very accessible through the whole process, even not during studio hours. So we appreciate that very much. And to everyone else here, we thank you too. My name is Nicholas. This is June, and this is Min, and this is the Oh Hi box. And it's Oh Hi because in Oh Hi it's kind of a joke, and we wanted to bring that comedy to our project. So the Oh Hi box is not only a box for produce, but it's something typical. It's not something typical that you see on the side of the road, but it's something that is intricately redefining the constraints of a typical produce stand. Our design and build was meant to be a piece of art and architecture that speaks for itself through boldness. A partially Japanese-inspired produce box that unravels into a communal space, complex details, layers of materiality, and transparency. The Oh Hi box is made up of multiple layers, which we take pride in. The outermost layer is the all-cladded Western cedar. At the lower quadrant, the cedar is raw, and at the quadrant above is scorched cedar. The scorching of the cedar is a concept known as shishibi-ban. It's a Japanese technique used for hundreds of years, not only to create beauty, but to preserve and protect the internal guts and bones. A shelter that is water resistant, bug resistant, mold resistant, and a shelter of longevity. The cedar was first ripped to various lengths, scorched with a weed killing torch and propane water with a watering can, and brushed off multiple times to clean off any debris. We were covered in char through this whole process. The geometric design wasn't an accident. Each piece was placed to form the peak of a home because something about our early intentions were reminiscent of such, and we wanted our visitors to feel that same connection. The cladding creates transparency, allowing light to flow in and out through the day, and as we begin to unravel the box, it is made up of a few components. The first is the left wing. Two other features are included in this. The dowel sliding crates, which were made to accommodate produce at eye level and convenience. And the second feature is the cash box on the left-hand side for money collection. Two different size slots were routed out for the cash and coins. And the cash box is encapsulated by the shishibi-ban panels to protect it from the inside. The next wing is the right side wing. And this wing is made up of mostly shelving space. All the shelving is all the cutoff pieces that we use for the shishibi-ban. So we tried not to let any of the material go to waste. And both wings slide out on an intricate rail system with V-groove wheels attached for smooth mobility. This was definitely a challenge for us, but after weeks of trials, we finally came to a satisfying enclosure. The detail is made up of two step-drilled holes in the steel framing and a small circular tube to be welded inside and protect the metal from getting water into that rest of the steel. The clearance was also very minimal, making things that much more complicated when it came to the rails. And then the rails that the V-groove wheels sit on were attached to the L brackets, which is actually what you're holding right now. Those are all kind of on the inside hidden. And the last feature is the thing that really ties together our design by integrating community in its simplest form, a place to gather and sit, the wooden bench with steel frame beneath. We all learned a significant amount by building the Oh Hi box. Many things were new for us, while other things were not. We constantly research and put our heads together to work out the many complications I came across. This piece was not easy, but it has a very special place in our hearts, and it was the process that I think we all love the most.
That's awesome.
And you guys can feel free to come up. The wood is nice and clean. You put a clear coat on there, so no more black on the hands.
Does that open up?
No. So I will say that the backside has false door fronts now. We had to make a decision, so it no longer opens from the back. But we figured that it could still be walked around on all sides, considering the transparency and openness for the two wings on the sides.
Originally, you wanted the back to open as well.
Yeah, it was going to have doors that open, so when these are closed up, all of this can be accessed from the back as well. If they wanted a more compact.
Right. And that Ojai graphic, you were going to put that on this surface with paint?
We thought about it, and we came to an agreement that it wasn't our project. It would have just been too distracting, I think, from the very natural appearance.
Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Can you do the bench again? I totally missed that. That was a bench. How
The
did
thing
that?
slides out, the metal.
The bench slides in, and then this whole top piece drops down.
Okay.
It's on 3 hinges in the left, right, and center.
I'm looking now as a bench. And I'm really
I'm sorry to go way back, but could you grab the model that you made and just pull that out and just explain like how that works, how the whole system works as a part of you?
So those are the wings. So
just help me with the frame.
For this side, you also imagine it having produce kind of display as part of the villa. Because I'm seeing this one is like perhaps kind of smaller fruit, and this side being just kind of larger. Is that how you're
I
imagining?
think that side is the universal side. So we can have crates on there with stuff, or it could be, I don't know, a little flower base.
Okay.
Olive oil.
Yeah.
Is there a way to pass it on the left one? Like if those two like bins are like full, is that gonna fall?
No, because yeah, it would actually be. He pulled it out completely so you can see it fully, but it would be sitting on the rails right here, so it won't tip forward.
Okay.
To the left or right, yeah.
So it's just like this. It's not supposed to come out.
It doesn't have to come out, but it can come out.
Okay.
But I think the weight is substantial enough on the left side to keep it from tipping, even if we didn't put stuff in there.
So you guys have done a huge work there. Like it's pretty insane. It's awesome. It's so much detail. One of the things that's been so fun this semester is every time we talk about like solving on these things, you very quickly need to dig and just like explore it and get it figured out and then you test it. So I think it's been super successful. To me, the most important part of this is the groove wheels. You guys want to have like this smallest little wheel, which has like a near degree of like rapid change on it, so it has to be aligned perfectly. I think if there's one thing to do, it would be to beef up the groove wheels or figure out the way to make them smaller. That's the only thing I can say. Like I think it's solid. I think maybe to do it again, we should survey on the entire picture of interest. Just like having the heights on the inside house a little bit lighter. And the reason that we do the security line is to protect it. The inside is not fully protected. It's not really the surface space on the inside. Other than that, it's been so far. I think it's a very successful project. Similarly, I don't know where it wants to live on the side of the road or wearing some kind of like a tree or something. It's just so.
bench goes in first.
Oh, I don't see this.
Can you explain how that burning process protects it? I don't know about it, so can you speak to how that?
So when you burn the wood, so cedar in general, Western cedar or Japanese used to use like Japanese redwood, or sorry, not redwood, what was I saying? Japanese cedar is what I'm trying to say. And cedar is already naturally resistant to bugs and rot, but when you burn it, it just makes it that much more durable to the same conditions, mold, to rot, to bugs, and it just weatherproofs everything fully. So so the wood won't want to move after a period of time. Wood likes to move, but after you burn it, you kind of dry out all the moisture that's inside. We did a lot of research on that too, and it seemed to be something that we wanted to take on for those protective reasons.
So it's aesthetic and functional.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is, like, you can actually walk on the inside, and if you look up, it's still transparent, but it kind of becomes a shelter, literally a shelter.
One of the things that I like really like is kind of the consistency of the material as again consistent, right? We see it in the kind of pull-out shelves, we see it again in the kind of graphic of the thing, the bench. So whenever you see wood, it's kind of within a certain system, and then the thing that's behind is just perfect. So I really like that about this project, as it as an architect, you kind of see the two working together really well. Yeah, I mean, there's so many details that are so well executed that it's really impressive. What in the components that are open right now, like the bottom shelf or part of the layer, I guess, that would be just what, any kind of thing?
For the steel
Yeah.
at the very bottom? Well, they're under here, right?
Yep.
We don't have anything underneath there because when we close it up, everything is like as compact as it can
Right,
get.
okay.
So there's no room unless we had like an external piece that we would bring in and drop in place.
Okay.
That
Yeah, no,
would
I'm just looking at your render and kind of like how you imagine again, kind of infilling like every single of the thing, right?
How do you imagine it?
For the shell, some hole or made placing
Right. Right. So it's kind of depending on a crate, you can come in as an infill within the frame. Yeah. Cool. Okay. No, I think that's-
I have a little tear in my eye. It's so beautiful. It real. I mean, I started working on this studio with Janine a long time ago, and
2011.
yeah, 10 years ago. And this is the type of project that you like, just kind of dream that you'll see. It really is that special. The paint quality on the metal work, the way it's put together. The bench is just gorgeous. It's like, I want to take that part home with me. And it's sort of the opposite, you know, of the sort of, like I described the sort of dumb roadside thing, and so it doesn't really sort of fit that category. It's a much more sort of refined experience, but I think it still fits the sort of casual produce stand, even though it's so refined and so elegant. Like, you can imagine so many settings, like, we all went downtown, right? So like, you can imagine there's so many places when we went downtown, like in the arcade, or out in the back in the park, or at one of the businesses, like even at the bookstore, you know, I mean, even like if you think about the bookstore, like, oh my God, Bart's bookstore, this would, you can imagine fruit being in the, you know, on the street there or inside that bookstore. It's really, really beautiful. I'm envious of how you were able to sort of stop and encapsulate all of your thoughts into the writing. The writing was really beautiful. I think that's one of the biggest weaknesses of architects, is being able to communicate and articulate our thoughts and our projects and our design. And I don't think you could have done it better. It was very sweet. It made everything you said made sense. It let me know all the thoughts that you had put into it. And then I love the Japanese connection, because I don't know, I mean, we talked about this briefly, I think, when you guys were there. But the Ojai Pixie Tangerine, which is what like our family and my family sells with the other 33 families in Ojai, is it has a special market in Tokyo and in Japan, and so they're one of our big markets. Like we sell a lot overseas to Japan, and so like you can imagine like even our co-op sort of shipping this over to Japan and it being in a grocery store, you know, like the Ojai Pixie Tangerines are in, or in the, like the fish markets, you know, like being in the fish markets in Tokyo, you can imagine this sort of being there, and it just, I mean, just like it's supposed to be there. I mean, it's like it would be amazing. Like I feel like we should figure it out somehow. It's really that special to me. I applaud all the work. You can see all the effort that you put into it. It's really gorgeous. Even down to like the boxes, the fact that like you know that that's like a produce box. You know, when you look at that, it just is like it's like this is a produce box. Anyway.
I mean, that's why I was asking about the infill, because it kind of already says what the infill is. I was kind of playing devil's advocate, as people say, in the boxes. So it's you already, whether you think about it, is within the aesthetic of what you've made, right? So when Sunny is already saying my produce, you know, like literally fits within what you've made as a brand, as a kind of marketable thing, and that's really smart. So that's I just want to say that. So that's as a kind of marketing person, would be like, oh yes, we just have to put the label on it and that's it. So that's
my
really,
cue.
That's really clever.
Put the label on it.
Yeah.
This is stunning.
Yeah.
I am blown away. It is so beautiful. I can't stop looking at it. I really want to see the label. I want to see it.
I want to see it too.
Yeah.
needs signage.
And it's such a nice
And now
graphic.
here's the thing though. You were right not to use the graphic you were working on because it wasn't appropriate for what you made. What you made is so beautiful and so stunning, and then our danger becomes we love what we made in our materials so much that we don't want to do anything else to it, but your client needs you to. So it's the worst challenge in the world. And it doesn't have to be anything big, right? But it has to be integrated somehow. And so what I see when I look at this is I see a fruit crate. You know, I mean, the whole thing is it's gorgeous. And so what I would do a lot of research on labeling throughout history of fruit crates. And you will find something clean and that connects to this that will not take away the beauty. What you were designing was beautiful, but it wasn't appropriate, so you made the right choice. But it requires another deeper dive into just the graphics. How do we properly label this so it honors everything you've done? And I think it's in looking at fruit crates and vegetable crate labels throughout history, maybe even in Japan, right? And see what you find. I like want to put this in my house. I don't know. I mean, I just think it's beautiful. I mean, can I put books on it, or I mean, I think it's. I can see it. You know, I sort of went to Grand Central Market, and you know that beautiful space when you walk in with the coffee. I don't even know what's still there, but I don't know. I just see it out in the world. Perhaps maybe in a more urban environment than on the side of the road of Ojai.
I mean, I was thinking about that as something about
gorgeous.
like its application on, and again the rendering is telling of its intent. But I also, as you say, can see it in a much more sophisticated environment, but like at nighttime, where like this almost reads as a lantern in a way.
Like this, you know, you could set this up in front of an art opening, right on the streets in Chinatown or something.
So this is our Pixie. This is our Pixie logo.
Nice.
So this is like, you know, so.
Now, where you go with what you learned from that research, you know, maybe it's not super colorful. Maybe it's just in one color. Or maybe, you know, something simple, and you know, I don't know. Until
You know, the very original thought we had with the technology was to somehow tape it up and then have, sorry, that's it.
said
Oh, I'm
typology,
sorry. I'm
but
sorry.
that's okay. That's probably a word somewhere.
So we were thinking about what we kind of wanted to do or tried to do, but I think we just couldn't figure it out exactly, was to have the raw cedar come kind of behind the Shishugi bond. So basically like taping off the portions, burning everything, and then leaving what is left as the
Like a stencil.
typography.
I really like the reference to fruit crates that's been mentioned here, and also to laugh that Sunny mentioned on his project. That and the transparency of it, I love it. And early on, I think that Nick, you and I were talking about this idea of the Pandora's box. Like you open up these things, and there's all these different ways that things turn.
The crates pulling out and
Yeah.
coming to an angle. So
It's a beautiful idea. Which, there's so much in this that could be mined for future iterations of this same project and or a thesis degree project. I do think it's.
And maybe your labeling isn't actually on the piece. Maybe it's its own little plaque, and you just set it up, on the bench against or it sits on one of the shelves when you open it up.
Very small,
right?
Math has also been a sort of theme throughout a lot of these design build, these civic engagement courses that we've done, and also the gardens. So like we've done a lot of gardens as projects and seed sheds and actually lath houses. And so one of the graphics that's come up in the past is that you just pick one piece of lath or 2 or 3 pieces of lath, and so like students have painted that a different color, but in this case it could almost be like that's the interchangeable moment. If you think about like a beautiful wood engraved dash on a car, sometimes there's like just this one piece, and there's just and the sort of branding and the logo is sort of built into that piece, and so it could be something as elegant as that, or it could be something like, you guys mentioned fun earlier, and so it's interesting, like funny and Ojai and kind of like it could use a little bit of that sort of coming through. It's not like I get why you're saying that, but it could use just a little bit of joy, and I think that's where you could get it is in the graphics. Like I think that's how we can use graphics a lot. It's like color. There's nothing more joyful than beautiful colors, right? So just a little. Just turning it up just a little bit would sort of add some of that whimsy that you're talking about and some of that graphics to it. Like for me, the funniest thing for me was when you opened it up and the watermelon was on the shelf. Like, I don't know why, but I thought that was hysterical. I was like, oh, it's a watermelon. Nobody sold one of those today, and so I thought that was hysterical.
And you had that humor from the very beginning with the Ojai box.
I love that.
Yeah.
So got to be some way to bring that in. But I also want to comment on your actual presentation because it was so well thought through, it was so thorough, it was so well prepared. I love the guitar. I wish you'd play some more. The whole way you presented was in keeping and in honor of the beautiful piece that you also presented. So
also your drawings, I went over there. Like that is ready again for manufacturing and manufacturing. So I think that's pretty commendable as well, because it tells me that you've thought through those components, and I think you're mentioned like figuring out the jigs, having it there, the inspiration. So that's all like your model of again the frame. Like it's impressive.
Well, there's so much in this that you don't see. Like I don't even think you guys told me this, but I think I know that one of the wheels you had to make were 3D printed in there.
This guy's right. I was like,
So it's like, oh my god, all this like little invisible work that's behind the
this is
scenes.
super cool.
And I think too, like one of the hardest things about architecture and design is when it's not. It's so difficult to just keep going. And I think you guys did a great job.
in graphic design, we say it's done when it's due.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think like the design is so subdued, which is such a hard thing to do. Like back to the branding. If the branding was that change of that pattern, like if that roof was a different, then it's done. Like it's there, you see it and you find it, but it's not.
I mean, even on the sides, actually, I took a picture on the face of these two panels, and again, going back to the like you literally see as if like different crates were turned on their face or on the sides of them or the bottom. I don't know if that was intentional again, but like I don't know if you see it on this side. Yeah, like one crate, your small crate, your larger crate. So like that, I was like, wait.
Oh, those geometric technology.
So yeah, so I'm like seeing some of the same elements kind of repeated in graphically that it's like super cool. So I don't know.
And like with product design, it's so important to have like movers.
Yeah.
And even when you write like one like thing of black, you know, that's like, oh, that's what it is. It's like that's really good.